I
Raymond
know it.
Nazon, my brother from another mother.
Mhm.
You have been with me the whole carnivore journey since day freaking one at MeatRx with Sean Baker in the fall of 2019.
That's right. Mhm.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
It's been a long time.
So thank you so much for coming and having this conversation with me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. And I was glad to see you at Meatstock.
Yes, we got to meet for the first time in person, and it was crazy because we're in this room and there's like 30 other people. And then all of a sudden, I turned and you turned, and all of a sudden, we were face to face. And
Mhm.
we hugged so long that like you finally pulled me back and you're like, wait, I want to see your face. So that was really a cool experience for me. So what is it like for you whenever you get to see people in real life after working with them for so long on screen?
That's funny because when I saw you, I felt like I've known you, I've talked to you. And we talked on the phone quite a bit already back in the past, and we were in a lot of Zooms together. So it felt like I've known you this whole time. So to me, even coming back like right now, oh, that's right, that was the first time meeting you in person, in the flesh. I've never met you in person. But to me, it's like there was no disconnect between physically knowing you, and actually physically meeting you for the first time. It was crazy. It was surreal. It's almost like all of it went right together, and we just like, you know, like we never were apart. And that's the thing. We stopped. We haven't talked to each other, I think, in about 2 years,
Hmm.
too. But all of that, like it's like time didn't matter, right? It's just like we just sunk in, like there wasn't a day skipped, and we just it was amazing. It was amazing seeing you.
Absolutely. Because I think what was really cool was there was this amazing experience when we first met in
Yes.
the Meet RX Zooms. We would lead all of those meetings together and we would literally like finish each other's sentences. And then, like, I would say part of an answer, and then I would be like, Raymond, go finish that answer. And then, whenever we met this year in person, we literally just sat down on the couch together for like an hour, 2 hours maybe. And again, we just continued finishing each other's sentences. And it was just so
Mhm.
cool to have that brotherly, sisterly, sibling
Yeah.
connection.
Yeah, that bond that we have is just amazing. And you're right, we saw it initially just coaching people. So that was amazing. I mean, these initial times that I coached with you really was fundamental for how even I coach the groups now, still to this day. So,
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I love that. I wanted to have you on because I think it's incredible that you got to be on stage at Meatstock, and it was definitely an opportunity for people that may have not known you to get to know you. But I just wanted to extend the stage a little bit, and to because we're not limited to time.
right.
We can talk as much as we want and to let people know what it is that Coach Raymond brings to the table. Um,
Yeah.
First and foremost, I would love for you to explain um, how your coaching has transpired over the years from 2019 to 2025. What's the difference that you've learned along the way?
Wow. Well, when I was coaching with you, the biggest thing that we were faced with is more people under eating, and not really doing a carnivore diet. And that was kind of difficult to get people to understand that. And I remember a lot of the things where people slipping up because they had cravings and stuff and not holding to the carnivore diet. And so, I started seeing that pattern way back then. And of course, people just starting out like, oh, I'm not that hungry, so I eat one meal a day or whatever. And then you notice that they just veer off from there. Even back then, I was thinking to myself, how can we actually get that retention? And back then, we were like just interested in people just doing it for a month, right? because we thought once they feel it, they're going to stay, right? Because it happened to us, right? And that wasn't really the case. Some people just didn't either feel good enough to give that as an encouragement or they just couldn't hold up. So that's where I started evolving. The more people I coached, the more I realized, okay, well, how can you handle a under eating issue? And I told myself, and that obviously was well known throughout the forums in the past, and the Facebook forums like Zeroing In on Health and all those. They always talked about it. But I was like, what's missing? What's missing is the communication part. And so I was like, well, what if we name it? We name this initial point. We knew adaptation took about 3 months. Well, why don't we name another period where if we eat enough, that we can actually get all that food noise away from us? And that's where I was like, oh, that first 2 weeks is what I noticed was really needed to focus on eating those 3 meals a day. And that's where I started coming in like, hey, don't fast. You just eat carnivore 3 meals a day. I started adding comfortably stuffed later on. So that's how it evolved. And then I had to explain what comfortably stuffed meant, to make sure that they ate those with 3 meals a day and trying to listen to your body. And when I noticed that people did that, they lost that food noise. And then when the food noise is gone, really, that's half the battle. Then it's like more psychological. Are you really staying in because you want to stay in, or are you pressured by society to eat something else? That's a whole different talk. But then the most important part, physiologically, you don't have that craving and that want. So I evolved from that point to the next point where I noticed that once you actually get to the point where you're fully and properly primed, I found a way to test that out, and that's through fasting. So it shows your strength when you can do water only fast. And it's like no big deal with a 23-hour water only fast, and keeping it honest because a lot of people would fast, but they usually have coffee. Well, that didn't make sense. So that was another thing that I learned too. Coffee after your meals. And that made such a difference in a lot of people. It made so much difference in so many people that they gave up coffee later on. And they could. I have people that's been doing coffee for like 50 years. And they're surprised that they could give it up with no real effort, no headaches, nothing, just because they just added it as a dessert. So literally after the food. And that's the power of carnivore by itself. It's like you get carnivore enough, you don't need these crutches anymore. Then to me, it becomes a choice. It becomes a choice whether you can have that cup of coffee once every now and then, but at least it doesn't own you. So yeah, there's a lot of lessons I've learned along the way, and also I incorporate that in the steak and butter gang. So, we have right around 2,000 some members, going in and out of every month. So I'm very proud to actually be able to portray myself there. So, and hopefully I'm changing many, many lives every month, but I don't really know the results. All I can hear is from people that tell me their results. So.
Yeah, and so that word that you were looking for, I'm guessing it's priming.
Yes, that's right. It's priming.
Okay.
That's exactly
So
right.
so yeah, have you noticed putting a word on that has changed the process?
Right away. It's strange, but people started resonating with priming, right? They started, and first it's like, what is priming? What is priming? I need to know. So to me, that shows a resonance for it. Just because I put in a word to it, they're like, I'm missing this piece. What is it? And there's some part of us, I know you're like this, Emily. And for me too. If there's certain things that resonate with me, I just want to find out more about it, and I want to dig deeper. And then there's the leap of courage to say, oh, I'm going to try this. And when I say a leap of courage, it does take a leap of courage to do priming because you could gain weight. You may not feel so good at first. There's a lot of issues transitioning like this, but it's a needed process.
That's so amazing. And you were my first fasting coach.
Fasting, yes.
We were doing rolling 98s, and
Yes.
it was such an awesome experience because if I had done it by myself, I wouldn't have had that balance of just a little bit of a push, but then also you would reel me back in
That's right. When you
instead
went
of
too
me
much.
going, I'm gonna do, yeah, I
Yeah,
was wanting to just jump and you're like,
that's right.
hold back, Emily. And you kept me balanced through that whole
Right.
process.
Right. I tried to make sure that and I remember that because, and all of us are like that. I'm like that too. More is better. More is better. By the way, rolling 48s, not
Oh,
98s.
sorry.
Yeah.
48s, you're right. My brain even when I said 98, I was like, 98 what?
Yeah.
98 hours? Rolling
Yeah. No,
48s.
48s. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, our brain wants to go all in, and I needed a coach to be able to really observe where I was at. Like, okay,
Yeah.
Emily, you're ready to push yourself more. Okay, Emily, you need to pull back.
Yeah. And that's the important part too. It's like sometimes our brain takes over. And I teach people this all the time. In this process, this carnivore process, it's to allow our guts to tell our brain what it needs and how much it can be pushed. Okay. What we normally do is we use our brains first, saying, oh, you're going to do this. I don't care what, I'm going to go through it. I'm not going to listen to you. So then you have people over fasting. Then you have people totally missing out on what carnivore is because their brain takes over. You saw this noise all the time when we're coaching. People are like, "Oh, I have to do it so perfect. I'm just gonna eat, just beef only or whatever right off the start." And you're like thinking to yourself, logically, that doesn't even make sense. You went from a diet of shit. Sorry, I shouldn't.
No, you're good.
Okay, to being so perfect and that aim for perfection. And I'm gonna work out. I'm gonna actually do all of these things all at once. The body does well when it transitions. I don't want to say slowly, but let's not put so much on it, and put all that stress. All that's doing is asking for us to not be able to maintain this level for a long period of time.
Absolutely, absolutely. Gradually is much better because then you become like a cooperative teammate with your body instead of
Yeah,
like you're whipping your body into submission.
absolutely.
So you've talked a little bit about this, but I wanted to make sure and bring this up that this is what you're talking about, that you
Hmm.
are the head coach
That's right.
at the Steak and Butter Gang, and you said now 2,000 people that are cycling monthly. That's amazing.
It is amazing.
And so as the head coach, obviously you coach people throughout the week, but you are also training other coaches. So tell me a little bit about Steak and Butter Gang and what that's been like for you.
Well, as you know, of course, Steak and Butter Gang is Bella's platform. She's got it where both of us had a dream, both me and Bella. It's like, hey, how can we do better than MeatRx and retain more people that want to stay carnivore? And that was that. And of course, the obvious solution came out. It's all about community. Because, when we were at MeatRx, that was huge, right? It's like we knew that if we met other people like us, that we could stay in it for the long run.
Yeah.
And we could share like a family. So really, that was the essential core is community. So we built one where you can have this forum, and we have a free side too where you just chat forum wise, and there's people that'll answer it and people help each other out. That's part of the community. Then we have the paid version, which is $30 a month, which is next to nothing. This is where I coach Monday and Tuesdays, my priming and fasting part, and actually give people a logical guideline to follow and how to follow their body through that. During that whole time, we're actually also coaching with troubleshooting live. It's like having your own personal coach during that time. Well, we also have it another forum where there's a lot of moderators and coaches that are spreading that same message. And our message is I don't want to sound wrong, but it is my message of how to go through the calendar because it really helps people to see. other people going through these very steps and they can identify with them. And we also have a call that's called non-scale victory,
Mm.
which is where we all share what victories we've had that week. Now, there's plenty of problems that we talk about before that. Sugar addiction, we have one of those calls. And during the priming and fasting, it's all about troubleshooting problems. But we actually have one day where we can be like, hey, you know what? I noticed this. I noticed this week. And that's so encouraging and empowering because we have a whole community listening to this and say, maybe because I can relate to that person, that can be me. You know, I have hope. And we started seeing that. And a lot of people, we have a lot of members that are just like super members and they just show up at every one of them. And I love that. And in the end, it becomes where there's this community that you feel like you're part of and you want to be a part of it. You're not forced to be a part of it. You just want to be a part of it. And then you can actually be able to uh, voice, you have voice in there. You can talk, you can share your wins and your not as good wins or troubleshooting problems. And so it feels good to be out there to do that. And we're doing that all on Zoom. And luckily enough, now Bella's even kind of extended it because she likes to travel just like in Meatstock. So now she's showing up at places. Before that, she was kind of shy, not really getting out there, but now she is. So now there's a chance that we can actually physically meet all these people that we've been seeing on Zoom for, we've been at it, believe it or not, for 5 years for the Steak and Butter Gang. That's a long time.
That's a really long time, and that's incredible because I think that it's down to our DNA that we need to identify with our tribe. And
Yes.
whenever we do identify with our tribe, then that sends the message to our central nervous system that we are safe. And
Yes.
so you're
Yes.
bringing that
Brilliant.
safety to these people that are looking at their physical environment going, but my sibling or my family member is eating potatoes, but I'm not eating potatoes. Like maybe I'm messing up. But then they can go into this virtual tribe and then they can go, "Oh, there's my people. Okay, I'm not losing my mind. I don't have to eat the potatoes."
I love how you mentioned safety, right? Because safety is so vital. If you don't feel safe, then you're not digesting properly. So this is why we create this. And if we don't digest properly, even if you're eating the perfect human food, then that's going to lead to problems also. So feeling safe and eating the proper human food, that's an amazing combination. So creating this community of safety, or even what you do, Emily, when you walk your clients through every step of the way, knowing that they can talk to you at any point in time, that gives them a sense of safety so they can eat and feel like, oh, I'm doing the right thing. And that's so important for digesting by itself.
Oh,
Totally agree with you
absolutely.
there. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's key. That's key. Thank you. I'm glad you pointed that out. I just wanted to also point out that this is where people can find you on Instagram, Raymond Nazon, and then on Facebook, Raymond Nazon, and then on YouTube, it's at R Nazon.
Yeah.
And I think that that is really important. But I also wanted to talk about what I got to witness my brother do is to get up on stage at Meatstock. And I've watched you shine many, many, many times, but I cannot tell you how proud I was of you because you just like came alive. Whenever you were talking, you had this essence about you. And I want to know from your eyes, what was that experience like whenever you were on stage at Meatstock 2025?
Yeah. So Meatstock wasn't my first foray on stage. My first one was actually Hack Your Health. And that was amazing having a room full of people. And then I was coaching him like I would coach in the Zoom. That felt so good. But at Meatstock, I knew that my role there was it was small, but I couldn't believe the amount of folks. I think there was like almost 300
300.
people. Yeah, yeah,
300.
300 people. So and so many of them didn't know who I was, so right. And that felt good. But a little bit because of Zoom, it's gotten me to be prepped up very well. Uh, every month, I have so many people that don't know me. So yeah, I I guess a lot of people like BNS and some others have told me I have a gift, of coaching, right? So, and it just kind of pours through me, right? So,
I'm so glad
and
you mentioned BNS. I would
yeah,
love to get BNS to come to Meatstock.
that would be great, wouldn't it? Oh
Oh,
my
that would be
God, yeah,
incredible. And he's
yeah.
getting married.
I heard that he was going to get married, but I haven't talked to him in forever. Do you still talk to him?
Yeah, love
Okay, okay.
BNS.
Yeah,
He's
I
my
need I need
brother
to
from
uh I need to
India.
ping him. Yeah, I know, right? She for sure is. Yeah. Yeah, I'm
Um,
so happy for him.
But you're right, and I knew this. I've seen your center of brilliance in our Zoom meetings. But for me to get to see you on stage, and I'm not knocking anybody else that was on stage with you at the same time,
Right,
but it
right.
was like they would speak, and then they would speak, and then you would speak, and it's just like, God, like
Mhm.
it was just like almost like a performance, like an actor or
Yeah,
something in theater. Like you were captivating. Like I
thank
could
you.
see everybody else in the audience just be like hanging on your every word. And what I think is that whenever we clean out the sugar and the processed foods out of our bodies, we're actually getting ourselves more able to be a conduit of that spirituality. And so you're almost up there and you're just kind of like processing through the divine and letting it kind of like speak through you.
I love that you said that. Honestly, that was, because before carnivore, I was the shy guy. I did not want to speak to anybody. I would be any party, I would be in the corner, and for me to come out like this, yes, I am very passionate about carnivore. There's no question about that. But uh, even earlier on in my journey, first couple of years, I didn't want to get out there. BNS was the one that forced me to even become a coach, right? So it's kind of funny how it like I had this probably gift this whole time, but I could never show it because I was clouded by the toxic junk I was eating the whole time, right? And of course, watching your brilliance, come out during this. I didn't know you before, but the way you described before, I probably didn't want to know you. You know what
No.
I mean? So it's so nice to see how again you have that same captivation just like I do, and you are a great conduit. Minus your disease because it's a terrible disease that you have. So, and including mine, but the fact that carnivore was able to get that, I don't ever want to say get rid of it because get rid of it means I could eat trash again and then not have that issue. So it doesn't get rid of it. If I go back to eat
It
trash, I'm
manages
done,
it.
right? It manages it exactly. So the fact that once you're cleared up, it clears up other pathways, the pathway to spirituality, like you said, and that's an amazing process by itself. It's worth it just to go through that road. We could do the monk's way where we're meditating constantly to do this, but I'm like, this is how I feel. I feel like I've been like a meditator this whole time because I feel that conduit just free and clear all the way up.
Absolutely. I think it's a spiritual hack.
There, that's a good word for it. I love it. It's a spiritual hack. It
Well,
really
and
is.
I don't know enough about this, but I hear about people talking about decalcifying their pineal gland,
Pineal,
and
yes.
I think carnivore does that
I totally agree. I totally agree.
because there's so
Car
many people who come online like
Yes.
spiritually in a different
Yeah.
way after they've been eating this way for
Yes.
five
You saw
years.
Brett. I was shocked. Brett. Okay. Brett.
I know.
Okay. A medical me. I would have never guessed it. You know what I mean? So, and
Hmm.
of course, we have people like Angela, who's very, very tapped in. I
Meat-based
wonder how she
medium.
was before meat-based medium. I don't know how she was before, but the fact that she's so in touch,
Hmm.
and I think carnivore probably enhanced whatever ability she had, if anything, right? So you're right. There is a tap into, in my opinion, spirituality, and I'm so fascinated by that side now.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know that there are many people watching this who know who you are. But for the few people that don't know who you are, can you give us just a brief overview of your story and why you came to this way of eating?
Yeah, brief overview. I was pretty much staring at a barrel of a gun because by choice, because I wanted to end my life because the pain was so bad. Weirdly enough, that wasn't actually enough to get me to change my diet or anything. So at first it started out, so I have diverticulitis and these pains were coming on and I just knew I just wanted to avoid the doctors because when they told me that I had a good chance of having my colon removed to deal with diverticulitis. And of course in my head, and they told me this too, I might get an ileostomy bag at 45. And I'm like, yeah, yeah. I was thinking quality of life would be embarrassing. Okay. I just did not want that. But that wasn't the choice that made it where I went that way. What really made it that way was when my nurse found out that I was pre-diabetic. And I want to challenge that actually because I didn't really go to the doctor to actually have a full look. He just looked at the A1C. Or she did. She looked at the A1C and it was a 6.0, and they're like, "Oh yeah, yeah, you're definitely headed towards diabetes. You're probably going to need a insulin shot." But I actually think I was already diabetic. I had the whole sign. I had 44-inch waist, A1C of 6. I had the low, high triglycerides, low HDL, the whole marker that tells you that you're diabetic. So I probably was that for a while. That's probably what created my diverticulitis and my foot pain. I also had heel spurs and plantar fasciitis. And literally, when I'd go into like a flare up for like my diverticulitis, for example, I was praying it was painful enough that it would knock me out. And if it didn't knock me out, I would try to knock myself out. So, and again, that's why I was like staring at a barrel of a gun. And I was like, but to tell you the truth, I never could pull the trigger, but I have two kids, and I really thought about it. I was so close to doing that. But when I found out about the diabetic part, they told me that I could manage it with workout. Did workout and diet. They did say diet, but it was like the American diabetic diet, and I was like, I don't want to change to all of that carb and whatever sugars they have. I mean, it's just a nut diet, right? I'm like, it didn't even make sense to me back then that okay, eating more sugar would be able to control my sugar. That I just couldn't jive with that. So I tried to exercise because I was like thinking, okay, I haven't never exercised that hard. So I got to the point where I was exercising 7 days a week, and I did that for like 7 months, and I
The
didn't feel any
Orange
better.
Theory.
The Orange Theory, that's right. I didn't feel any better. That's the thing. I gained a pound. I didn't feel any better. And I'm like, you know, I'm not a rocket science. I even told me scientist, but I don't think this is working. I should see something, right? Other than the obvious. I was starting with walks and then I started being able to jog. So obviously something happened, but I was expecting to feel better. So that's when I started Googling. Back then Google wasn't all taking out a lot of things like
Yeah.
nowadays. I said how to cure diabetes, and then the first thing that came up was dietdoctor.com, and they talked about a high fat, low carb diet. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to try that for 6 weeks because there was a transformation challenge in Orange Theory at that time to lose weight. So I was like, I can do anything for 6 weeks. It's just 6 weeks. So I did that for 6 weeks. Within the first 2 weeks, I lost like 10 pounds and looked like I lost 30 pounds. And if you saw my inflamed face and inflamed body, it probably was all water weight, but I don't give a crap. It just gave me the aha, like, okay, maybe I'm in the right path. Of course, did I keep that up? No. After the 6 weeks was done, went on vacation and started eating like trash again, gained it all back. Well, that was another aha moment. I'm like, okay, well, low carb and I lose all this. And when I put everything back, I gained it back. Okay, well, duh, right? Not rocket scientist, but I can put two and two together there, right? Okay, now the problem is that every time I had to cook, it took me 2 hours. My God, Emily, do you know how long it takes to cook vegetables? Jeez, it was just horrible. I'm talking about chopping it up, and I wanted to do the thing right, so I bought all the good stuff, and chopping it up, cooking it to hell, because I didn't like it. Because at that time I just was eating meat and grains, right? Ugh, so a lot of spinach, a lot of this other
And it
terrible
goes
stuff,
bad in the fridge.
and it does. So
I
and so
wasted
that
so much.
so that meant I had to go out and get it. So all of that included a lot of time, right? So then it's just like, and that was one of the reasons after 6 weeks, I'm like, this doesn't make sense for me because how long am I going to keep that up? So then after I got back there from vacation, there was another challenge I was issued for 6 weeks. That first one, I won third place, I think. And there was another 6 week challenge. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try it again. But can I just get rid of the vegetables and stuff and all of that work that I have to do? So I started asking questions, doctors, looking online. Is it really going? At the time, I wasn't really thinking that would kill me. The doctors, nurses, like, no, this will clog your artery. You're gonna have a heart attack. This is a bad idea. You're not gonna be able to poop. Whatever, whatever, whatever. You've heard the standard.
Yeah.
Then, then I was like, well, what if I just did it for 6 weeks? Well, what do you think will happen? They're like, well, you know what? You could try that, but you should do a full blood work throughout the whole time and do a coronary artery scan. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. So I did it that time, and problem was is I did a CAC score thing, and that turned out to be horrible. Now, I was 700 at that time, which is not good. It's supposed to be zero. Um, and obviously, it was from my prior diet. It didn't happen in 6 weeks, right? But
Hmm.
anyways, that's an excuse that they had. So they looked at that plus the blood work. Well, my blood work was total crap. It actually got worse. My blood pressure went up. My cholesterol, the whole lipid, just went to total tar in all the wrong directions. So that scared the bejesus out of me. And I'm like, but here's what's weird, Emily. All of this thing is telling me that I'm feeling bad, but I'm hitting PRs at the Orange Theory. I'm feeling better than I've ever had. And I'm like, okay, I don't understand why this would be so bad for me if I'm feeling so good. And I even told my doc that. And he's like, yeah, well, and my nurse was like even saying that, or I forgot, somebody said this, that yeah, you feel really good right before you die. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, and I have heard that phenomenon before, in other series that, they get this last win where they're feeling really analyzed. But, it makes you think. You're like, oh shit, maybe, so, and this was at the time at 2017. So this was at the time where I didn't really have access to much research. So I gave it up. And then Dr. Baker came in Joe Rogan and started talking about the carnivore diet. And that's when I picked it back up and I was like, screw this. I'm going full tilt. I even told my nurse, look, you know what? You can laugh at me at my grave if you want. Because I'm taking my health in my own hands, you know. And to me, I even said, look, if I get a little bit of quality life and it's a short one, I won. you know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what more do you need than quality life? So I went on it, and after 3 months of doing the carnivore Dr. Baker style during that time, so again, all my supplements, everything, just carnivore, and and I mean, it wasn't miraculous. I still had my weight and all that kind of stuff, but I felt really good. Um, And it came down to the point where I was like, oh, I could do this forever, but I really miss onions and garlic. So after 3 months, I said, I'm going to treat myself to the onions and garlic. That shouldn't be that bad. Did that, had like 3 days where I couldn't sleep because I had such a bad GERD. It was terrible. And then I asked myself this so important question. Is 5 minutes of pleasure worth those 3 days? And I was like, logically, that didn't make sense to me. So I was like, okay, no, whatever you want to call it. Some people call it hardcore. It's not hardcore. What you did was hardcore. But anyways, I just did carnivore, like kept my dairy and all that kind of stuff all throughout the journey. Of course, there were stints that I had where I did ribeye only for like 8 months. So, later on, I started playing with the difference and just feeling it and just experiencing carnivore in pretty much all its glory. And I did raw for like 12 days, kind of stuff.
Yeah, and so do you have symptoms of diverticulitis?
Yeah, I still have I feel I can feel it, but I don't have the pains. Okay, so the pains were like it would last up to 8 hours, and it was laboring pain. I would be like on the floor in a fetal position, and then back and forth in the bathroom trying to expel what trying to expel felt like my colon was about to fall out in the wrong end. So now it's just like I feel something, and then a little bit later it just kind of starts going away. Um, so to me, that's a huge win. Um, and I even hear other people who have had the surgery, and they're honestly, I prefer this method than what they had to choose.
Yeah, and you've never gotten to the point, or you don't get to the point now, where you want to end it all.
Hell, not
That
even
your pain.
close. Not
Good.
even close. This is just a more nagging pain, like, here it is. It's here. Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
not even close. So it does not stop me from having this top quality of life. Let's put it that way.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I am so glad that we got to have this conversation on so many levels, just because I love you so much and you're just like a brother to me, but also because I just want to share you with the world. I want others to know not only that you are here and you're sharing your story, but you are offering a hand-holding support with the Steak and Butter Gang. And this isn't your first rodeo. Like you said, you've been doing this for 5 years.
Eight years.
So,
Yeah.
well, I mean the Steak and Butter.
Oh, the steak and butter gang. Yeah, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm so excited that that we're gonna have many meetups, for years to
Yes.
come. We're gonna be like 80
Yes.
years old having
Yes.
these meetups together, and helping this community. So thanks for all your work.
Thank you for all you do. I can't wait to interview you back. Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, thanks. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Emily. Take care.